Hello, in today's foundation roundup, I have 5 foundations to review, to show you what they look like on me, how they wear, and just give you my overall thoughts. 4 are new releases, and 1 is a foundation I'm revisiting. I truly have different types of foundations for all skin types at different price points in today's video. And as always, I'll be sharing what skin types I think would benefit most from each. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. If this is your first time watching, if you're unfamiliar with my foundation roundups, I do these periodically and test out other face products, foundations, concealers, primers, powders, because I'm in my upper 40s and it just gets harder and harder to find products that perform well the older we get. So I test these products out to hopefully help make your buying decisions a little bit easier. I don't do first impressions here. I always test foundations out for several days using different methods and different primers and powders, which I have linked down in my description box and in my top pinned comment for you, along with all the products I'm sharing today. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into these 5 foundations that I've been testing and see what I think about them and if they'll work for you. I'm starting off with Smashbox Always On Skin Balancing Foundation plus Hyaluronic Acid and Adaptogens. That's a really long name. So I've had quite a few questions about my thoughts on this compared to one of my favorite foundations of all time, Estee Lauder Double Wear. I have several videos on Double Wear because it's just a staple foundation that's been in my life for a really long time. It's one of my top favorite long-wearing foundations, and this has very similar claims. I did just recently update my top favorite long-wearing foundations. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll have it linked down below in my description box and my top pinned comment, as well as up here in a corner and at the end, so you can catch it after you watch this video. There are some great foundations at all price points in that video. Smashbox Always On retails for $45 for 1 ounce. There are 30 shades. I'm in shade L20N, which is level 2 light with a neutral undertone. It's vegan and cruelty-free. It doesn't contain alcohol or synthetic fragrance. Now, it's really important that you know my climate and my skin type if you're not familiar with that before I get started, because those make a big difference with how our foundation applies and wears and looks throughout the day. I live in New Orleans. It is hot and humid most of the year, and even when it's not hot, it's still humid. So keeping foundations on my face and not breaking up and looking decent is a big challenge for me. I'm pretty hard on foundations for that reason. And I have combination oily skin. The perimeter of my face is pretty normal and can be dry, and the center gets some oil and shine breakthrough as the day goes on, especially when it's extra humid, which is a lot. This foundation has some pretty strong claims, and we've had a ton of humidity with record highs, so I really put this to the test. This is primer infused and is supposed to wear well for up to 16 hours and protect from environmental stressors as well as blue light. It's got skin balancing oil control adaptogens that support your skin instantly and over time, along with a balance boost complex that contains hyaluronic acid. It's supposed to be good for all skin types, including sensitive skin, and be water, sweat, humidity resistant, and crease resistant. Similar to Estee Lauder Double Wear, this has a liquidy texture. It blends out and applies very quickly and easily. It gives you time to work with it. Oftentimes, when a foundation's main claim is to be long wearing, it can set very quickly, meaning you have to work with it quickly. That's how Estee Lauder Double Wear works, and that's why I have videos on how to apply it properly so you get a very natural, beautiful look. I'll have that video linked if you haven't seen it, but that's not something you have to worry about with this because it gives you time to work with it, which is pretty refreshing. I'd say the coverage is buildable from medium to almost full, slightly over medium full, while giving a natural finish that feels really lightweight. I notice a very faint, naturally occurring fragrance in this. Very, very minimal. I notice it when it's on the back of my hand. I do not notice it after it's applied to my face. I just wanted to make make that note in case you're extremely sensitive to fragrance. I find that it dissipates. It's not anything that is bothersome to me, but I wanted to make a note. Now, the natural finish of this to me looks nice on my pores, but it doesn't completely blur them. It also doesn't exaggerate them either. And I find that that natural finish makes this a really nice foundation for multiple occasions. Great for daytime, great for evening, similar to double wear. Now, as far as wear goes, I would say I start to get some shine breakthrough in my shine prone areas, maybe about 4 hours in, depending on whether I'm wearing a primer. Obviously, I can go longer if I have a primer underneath, but it's nothing that breaks down my makeup. Everything stays looking good for around 9 or 10 hours, depending on the environmental conditions, how much humidity and heat is going on. That's about the point when the shine just keeps coming through and it starts to look oilier and exaggerate texture, pores, and settles into my forehead creases, and it just starts looking not so good. So that's where this separates from Estee Lauder Double Wear for me. Estee Lauder Double Wear I can wear from early morning into the wee hours of the night. I probably could get the 24-hour claim out of it that Estee Lauder Double Wear has. I just haven't done that before, but I would say that 10 hours is probably the max that I can get out of this with my skin type in my environment. And overall, I think Estee Lauder Double Wear is more flattering to my skin. I just feel like my makeup looks a little bit better when I wear Estee Lauder Double Wear, but this is by no means a bad foundation. It's still a really nice foundation. And I do think they did a really great job of creating a foundation that's nice for all skin types. I've always said it's harder for dry skinned people to find long wearing foundations that don't make them dry. And I think that this could be one that works for you if you have dry skin. So if you want a foundation that is easier and quicker to apply than Estee Lauder Double Wear, or that's just easy and quick to apply in general, and that will take you through a decently long day. And as I said earlier, it may perform better for you if you're not in the same extreme climate conditions that I'm in, or if you have combination to dry skin. For me personally, this is not replacing Estee Lauder Double Wear, but I do think that it could definitely suit many people out there. If you've tried this or any foundation that I'm sharing today, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Next is another foundation request that I couldn't wait to try myself. This is the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blur and Smooth Tint Stick Foundation. Why are all these names so long now? So this is $35 for 0.32 ounces. Remember, you're getting a stick, a dense stick foundation here, so you're getting less product than you would in a liquid foundation. This is consistent in size with other stick foundations that are on the market now. There are 25 shades. I'm in shade 7, which is described as light, medium, warm, neutral. It's cruelty-free, and I do not see alcohol or added fragrance listed in their ingredient list. And I also don't notice a scent at all in this when I apply it, or straight out of the stick either. They claim that this is a light coverage, long wear stick with a creamy, smooth texture that instantly blurs while melting into skin for a natural finish. This glides onto my skin like butter and blends out so easily. Now, this shade I thought was going to be too yellow. I mean, when you look at it, when I first blend it onto my skin, when I first swipe it on my skin, it looks pretty yellow to me. But because of the light to medium coverage that just kind of fuses with your skin, the shades are pretty forgiving. I almost think you could go up or down a shade and you would be fine. I kind of used a mix of methods to blend it out because I was playing around. I think that was the first day I ever played with it. I usually use a damp or a dry sponge. That's just the method I prefer, but I find that any method works for this really nicely. I feel like what they said in their description is spot on for me. It's creamy and it's smooth, and it instantly blurs my skin as it melts into my skin. No matter what I use to apply it, it just evens everything out and makes my pores disappear and just kind of perfects my skin while looking light skin and feeling lightweight. I'd say the finish of this is pretty natural before setting. There are some of you that may not need to use a setting powder at all. After setting, I get more of a demi matte finish that's just really natural natural and flattering. As someone who's always had issues with stick foundations wearing throughout the day, this has been such a refreshing change. This clip is from around 9 hours later, and it just looks really nice, especially for a stick foundation. This next clip was taken on a brutally hot, humid day when I was just in and out of the heat all day after about 7 hours. So there's some shine there, but it's not greasy or oily looking. It's just a natural shine, and it still wore nicely throughout the day. I didn't break up anywhere or look bad. My issue with stick foundations is that they will blend out really beautifully and start out great, but as the day goes on, they slide off my face or they break up in parts and just look terrible by the end of the day. Or they don't blend out like I need them to. They'll stick to dry areas and just look rough from the beginning. I can't find that happy medium. There are very few, I'm talking less than a handful that I've tried in all my years that perform well, and this is one of them. I love this. Now, I can't promise that if you're extremely dry, this would work, but it's worked on all areas of my skin. It's worked through humidity, and this has been a pleasant surprise. I don't know why I thought I had already reviewed Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Skin Tint with Vitamin C, but I haven't, so here we are. This retails for $17.99 when it's full price. I will source it where I can, along with everything else in my description box and my top pinned comment. It is 1 ounce. There are 18 shades, and I'm in shade 118, which we'll talk about when we get into the application. This is supposed to last for up to 24 hours and resist sweat, humidity, and fading. It's also supposed to brighten your skin instantly with this radiance, this pearlescent finish, which I've talked about with some other foundations. It's a thing right now, apparently, and it's supposed to brighten over time with the vitamin C that's included in here. And it has a runny texture that applies and blends out really easily. And I do agree with that light to medium buildable coverage. It evens my skin tone nicely and just kind of perfects and smooths and looks really pretty on my skin. It also feels very lightweight. Now this has that luminous pearlescent finish, kind of like Makeup by Mario. You can see this pearlescent quality. It's not really a dewy finish, it's a pearlescent finish. Makeup by Mario is not one of my favorite foundations because of this, and there was something about the finish of this that almost made me look a little pale. I'm not sure if you could see it on camera. I was trying to show you before setting. I think it became a little bit more apparent on camera after I set everything with powder. It just made me look a little bit more pale because of it. Now, I know there have been some comparisons between this and the L'Oreal skin tint that's been out for a little while. For me, this looks more like makeup because of that pearlescent finish. The L'Oreal just does not have that type of finish, and it looks more natural on the skin, but this does smooth and flatter the skin. Otherwise, it just really depends on your finish preference. Now, I did get some shine in my shine prone areas during the day. I would say every 4 to 5 hours that I needed to blot and touch up with translucent powder. It's not a big deal. It happens for me this time of year. As we've discussed, it did last nicely through that though, especially for a skin tint. If you have oily skin, I'm always hesitant to recommend this type of product to you because we make our own do throughout the day, and sometimes that can just be a recipe for disaster, for enhancing texture and pores, because that shine, that radiance, luminosity can reflect the things we're wanting to camouflage. A soft blur is a little bit better for that, but it's all preference. If you have a combination or normal to dry skin, or if you're someone who enjoys a luminizer underneath or mixed into your foundation, something like Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury or L'Oreal Lumi Glotion, one of those types of products, this has that type of finish where it's a foundation and a luminizer mixed together all in one, and you might really enjoy this for an everyday product that gives you that lighter, light to medium coverage that's easy to apply on a daily basis. It's not my favorite product, but it's definitely not a bad product for those of you that have that preference. I have another hot, highly requested foundation, Hourglass Veil Hydrating Skin Tint. This is $49 for 1.2 ounces. There are 18 shades. I'm in shade 7, which is described as light medium with warm undertones. There were no neutral undertones, only cool or warm to choose from, so just a little note there. This is vegan and cruelty-free. It's also alcohol-free, and there is no fragrance listed in the ingredient list. This is supposed to be a lightweight skin tint that boosts your moisture levels by up to 52%. For a dewy glow. It's supposed to softly diffuse your skin and plump and smooth your complexion and give a sheer veil of coverage. There are some nice ingredients in here. We have meadow foam, seed oil, hyaluronic acid, and plant-based squalane. You're supposed to shake this before you apply it. I always recommend shaking your liquid foundations. You want to make sure they're mixed up, right? This has a kind of a thicker consistency for a skin tint. I thought it was going to be really runny. I'd say it's kind of a thick lotion consistency. It applies and blends out with whatever method you use, your fingers, a brush, a damp or dry sponge. This is a skin tint in that it evens out your skin and gives sheer to light coverage and feels lightweight. I don't notice a scent. This is very dewy, glowy before I set it and gives a more natural finish after. Now, as the day goes on, my natural oils do mix in with it, which I anticipated because this is supposed to give a dewy, glowy look to your skin. It's not like I went into this expecting to get a matte finish. It's supposed to add moisture and strengthen your moisture barrier and plump your skin with hydration, which is perfect for most of you in my demographic who are over 40 and are losing moisture by the day. So even though I did get some shine that I needed to blot and touch up every 3 to 4 hours, this still wore really well. I didn't notice a ton of fading for a moderately long day. This isn't a product I'm gonna choose to wear from morning until evening. This would be maybe a 7-8 hour product for me, or a product that I'm gonna wear to run errands or something like that, because I personally prefer something a little more mattifying in my T-zone, especially for summertime. If you have oily combination skin, especially if you live in a humid environment like I do, this is going to look dewy. I don't see that there's a way around that. I think there are probably other products that you would prefer to this. But if you have normal to dry skin and you like skin tint type coverage for every day, this looks pretty on the skin. It looks like skin, and I think that you could really, really like this. I've tried this foundation several times throughout the years, and it's never worked for me, but I'm older now and I'm not as oily as I used to be, and I've been urged by several of you to please retry Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten Color Correcting Foundation. It retails for $30 for 0.32 ounces, and there are 9 shades that can span several levels. It's got these color correcting pigment swirls in here that make it really easy to color match. So I have shade light here, but I know in the past I've used shade medium and it worked fine too. However, during this test, I did try shade fair and it was too light. This is supposed to give you the benefits of a cream product, a cream foundation, but with the ease of powder application. They're also the first foundation to earn a seal of approval from the National Psoriasis Foundation, and they support the National Rosacea Society. It's supposed to be great for all skin types. But if you do find that this doesn't work for you, they do have 2 other types of powder foundations that you can go to, which I have not looked at. This just seems to be the most popular one. So I originally started applying this with my own brush that I typically use for powder foundations, and I would say it gave me just above medium coverage, even though the claims with this powder are that it gives light to medium coverage. I think it got a little bit more than that, but then I remembered that I had a couple of her powder foundation brushes on hand, so I started using the more diffused one for the other side of my face, and I would say that gave me light coverage. And then I kind of touched up with the denser brush that she has, and I would say that gives the medium finish that she claims this powder has. This is very easy and quick to apply because of the creamy texture. It's not a powdery powder foundation. It feels lightweight. It's smoothing to my pores, my skin overall. It looks very natural and flattering, and I don't think it looks like powder. I would say I start start out with a very nice soft matte finish, but a couple of hours in, no matter what I do or what I use with this, whether it's alone or with various primers, setting sprays, various combinations, I end up so shiny. Greasy shiny, not natural, pretty shiny. I've tried so many times at different points in my life, and that always happens. And I was hoping this would be different. I also do lose some coverage towards the end of the day. And I hate that because this starts out so flattering, blurring, and diffusing and pretty. And it's so quick and easy to apply. I don't know why I'm the only person that this seems to not work for, but apparently I am. So I have to stick with my verdict. However, if you have normal to dry skin or even combination skin and you are not in a humid climate like I am, this is probably not something that's going to happen to you. And I think that you would really like this. It's so pretty otherwise if it just stayed looking on my skin like it did the first 2 hours of the day. It would be such a beautiful powder foundation for me, but unfortunately it just doesn't, and I have tried over and over. So that is my verdict on Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten, unfortunately. And you know, they sent it to me to try again, and I really tried. But I did like the blush. I think that was in my favorites and fails this month. The blush that has the swirly texture, really love that, but this just does not work for my skin type and my climate. Bobbi Brown's new Skin Tint is one of the new foundation releases in my next foundation roundup, and I have already started working on my next top foundations video. So be sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss those or any other new videos. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!